Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am Game Master Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, I am going to be taking a first look at Swords and Wizardry Complete. I recently purchased this. I'm expecting it to come within the next couple of weeks. I finally got around to saying, you know what, I have the box set that was released sometime last year. I believe it was kickstarted, and it's the OD&D homage to Swords and Wizardry. And I decided that I would like to see what the complete version of this game system is. So it is, of course, written by Matt Finch, and Matt Finch, if you're not aware, is probably one of the most prominent um, designers, tabletop role-playing game designers in the hobby, and he is if not the one of the forefathers of the OSR. In fact, he might be the forefather of the OSR as well. So when you look at the title that I have here, Swords and Wizardry Complete, Glaring Oddities Upon First Look, um, I am by no means trying to diminish what he has accomplished in the hobby as a game designer, but there are still certain things in this during my first look through them that had me scratching my head. And I am going to start off with this first video just dealing with those glaring oddities, because literally it does have me scratching my head as to why these choices were made. And so I'm going to begin with that. So here we go. We're going to take a look at the PDF. Like I said, I'm waiting for the hardback to come in the mail. So here we have, so the author is Matt Finch, and and perhaps, like, I don't know if because no playtesters are listed here or whatnot, so I don't know if this is completely Matt Finch, or there are others involved in the creative process here. But going through it and just initially going through, I normally don't focus on covering, attribute scores and such. But when I got to here and then I looked at some of the character classes, literally scratching my head. So here we go. So I am going to focus for that purpose on ability score. Now, number one, PDF wise, I love the fact that the PDF comes with a form fillable character sheet. All right, that is really cool. And this is basic D&D kind of stuff here, right? So you have your attributes, and then you have your bonuses that are attached to those attributes. And with one exception, which I find kind of interesting, and we go through and you see there's an experience point bonuses based on having an attribute score that is your primary score for your class, and so on. So it really is very, very old school D&D here. You have your to hit chart to hit various armor classes, so it's basically THAC0, but you're putting it as to what you can actually see. And I'm assuming that armor classes cannot go below 0. Looking at this very quickly, you have your spells and your thieves skills, and I don't have a problem with these, but I will have a problem with the thieves skills when you get to the actual mechanics of them. So here we get to strength, and strength. You're going to roll 3d6 for your character strength score and write it on your character sheet. And whether or not whatever dice mechanics you are using, or whether you're rolling in order or assigned or whatnot, is all secondary to this. And I don't have a problem with this where you have a 2 hit and a 2 damage modifier applied to strength. You have opening doors, on the 1 to 6 scale, essentially. And I'm going to come to that issue a little bit later, but you know, I'm I'm leaning towards asking the question why we don't have a uniform uh, dice resolution system here, even with this here, even with the open doors. So having a 1 to 6 chance, or a 1 in 5 out of a 6, a d6 roll, convert those to percentages. And I'm going to have the same issue with the thieves' abilities as well. Um, Everything else is listed in percentages, and yet these hangers on are not, and that's kind of strange to me. Continuing on, we go through dexterity, we go to the constitution bonus, and here we have intelligence bonus. And although I like the fact that this has the max spell limit based on your level of intelligence, although I would argue that someone with an intelligence of 3 to 7 can't even be a magic user, but set aside that, um, here we have um, the min-max number of basic spells understandable per level. So a minimum of 2, a maximum of 4, and then we go through. So again, that's another aspect that I do actually like. I like the fact that they have min and max based on that. Um, the ability to cast additional spells at these higher level of intelligences is something that I really do look for. And it's something that I was expecting to see when we get to the wisdom modifier, because usually that's where you see it, and clerics get more spell casting based on their wisdom modifier. So that's what I was looking for, and when I saw that, I came back to here to see, well, what does it do here? So I don't have an issue here with the intelligence and the way it's doing it. I mean, additional languages is fine. I don't see why that's such an important thing in, in Dungeons and Dragons in general. Having maximum number of additional languages, it very rarely comes up. Now here we have wisdom, and there are no modifiers based on wisdom, which is really strikes me as being it's weird. So if a cleric has a wisdom score of 15 or greater, the character gains an additional first level spell. So why didn't they do it as a chart like this? But this should translate the same way for magic users. All right, so at 15 or greater, the character gains an additional first level spell. The potential for the bonus spell is not a feature of original game, but it's a way to give low level parties a bit more stamina and flexibility during the adventure. Your referee might choose not to grant bonus spells, but it is strongly suggested. And that bonus should continue on with higher. So at 15, you get a +1 first level spell. At 16, you get a +1 second level spell. At 17, a +3. At 18, you might get an additional +1 and the additional 18, +3 spell, or something along those lines. But it should scale up, and it should have had a chart just like this here, so that you don't have to read the text to figure it out. As I'm going through, so it reintroduces the assassin as a class. And there's a lot of classes here that are based on the D6 and the D4. You'll be kind of surprised with some of the ones that are still a D4. And it makes sense that assassins will have the various thief skills, such as climbing and delicate tasks and traps. Hear sound why isn't this a percentile? And that's what I'm saying. And it really should, to have it start at a base of a 50-50. I don't see why it just doesn't mirror the percentage system that we have here between delicate tasks, right? So 15, 20, 25, 30, and so on and so forth all the way through. Or convert this just to 50%, 50%, 60, 60, 60, 60. This would be 5 out of 6 is 80, 80, 80, 80, and then 100% at 13. I also kind of reject the idea of anything being 100%. Once again, I would have it mirror one of these other formats, like 15 to 80 or even 20 to 90 would be fine. That would kind of make sense. Hearing sounds and moving silently are kind of similar to one another in a sense. So maybe it should mirror that as well, so that they can hear sounds on the same level as they can move silently. If you could see my rationale behind doing that. Cleric, not a problem. No real problems with Cleric that I had here. Druid, same thing. Fighters only getting a D8 is kind of strange to me. I think they should be a D10 for hit points. Magic user D4, that's old school. It's still pretty much modern school too. That hasn't changed. So here we get to monks. So monks having a D4 is strange to me. It should be a D6. All right. And monks having the thief abilities doesn't make sense to me either. Particularly, climb walls, I would change that to leaping. All right. Perhaps perhaps something slightly different or a combination of the two or whatnot. But I would rather see that leaping. I don't know why monks have anything to do with the tasks of traps. Moving silently, fine. Opening locks, why? Why do monks have any kind of ability in opening locks? It just doesn't. It just doesn't match our perceptions of what a monk does. All right. Monks are not thieves that are unarmed weapons specialists. Basically is how it treats it. It does treat monks with some other, interesting things that is actually, I think, a great positive. All right. So they get weapon bonus. With a wisdom of 5, they inflict additional points of damage at second level when using weapons, and this bonus increases every level above that. So they do get some greater weapon specialization, so that you don't have a monk player character. You don't have a player playing a monk just avoid using weapons because there are so many advantages to their unarmed attack that they just don't pick up weapons at all. So I do like the fact that it does give them a little bit of an offset if they are using a weapon, that they will get some advantages going on. It makes them more of a weapons specialist kind of thing, which again, the D4 is going to make them kind of meek and avoid combat in those purposes. So that's, again, it's an oddity that I find strange that they left it at that. They still have to deflect missiles and slowing falling, additional saving throws, some new things like speak with animals. That's kind of interesting, and I don't know exactly where that comes from, but fine. Mastery of silence enter the perfect state. I wouldn't call that mastery of silence. I would call that, it's like playing dead, right? I would consider that more of the body because you're slowing all of your functions down to appear like you are dead. Mastery of mind, among thoughts become so serene and placid that any attempt at mind reading has a 90% chance of failure. All right, that's kind of interesting. The mastery of body is they can heal d6 plus 1. All right, that's cool. I would have included both of these, silence and body, into one thing and have it where they could do one or the other. Mastery of self. Self is mental control of any kind, including charm spells and hypnosis. All right, cool. And that comes at 8th level, so it comes much later on. Oneness with self. The monk is not subject to geese or quest spells. And then they can harmonic touch. The monk can touch any creature of equal or lesser hit die and create an attunement by which the creature dies instantly when the monk gives a mental command for its heart to stop. All right, so that's, at 13th level, it's very, very high. That's like the 5-finger death punch kind of thing. Very powerful. But again, I just got hung up on some of these skills. Monks are not thieves, and they should have more hit die than just D4. They should be a D6. Paladins, I actually didn't get this far before I decided to take a look at and do this video, because really those few oddities really did throw me back. Let's see. But anyway, the Rangers have their classic tracking. Underground and city tracking is a little bit different, I'm guessing. So that will be, and I'll go into more in depth on these things as well. This is just my very, very first glance. Cleric and magic user ability. I always thought that Rangers should have druidic spells rather than cleric, and certainly not magic spells, magic user spells. They should be a combination of a fighter and a druid, not a fighter cleric magic user combined class. You don't get that until much later on anyway, but I would make it druidic. And this is the thief. All right, and so when I got to thief, I was like, why is hearing sounds using the d6 and everything else is percentile? Uniformity of dice rolling, I think, is really, really important. And by 2023, when this was created, I mean, that kind of thing should be resolved by now. It should be like, yeah, sure, it's fine and dandy that, that's the way it was done in, not even OD&D, because there weren't, there weren't all of those abilities in some of those character classes and everything. But I mean, it's okay that you move beyond with a more uniform dice mechanic, and you'll still hold on to the basic systems of the old school D&D systems. I mean, you'll still hold on to that. You still have opening doors, just convert it to a percentile. You still have hearing noise, just convert it to a percentile. Having you all of a sudden have to roll a d6 for that just doesn't make sense to do that. Same thing with like initiative, if it's using, and I didn't go that far into it to take a look, but moving initiative to d10 just makes sense. Virtually using the d6 just as a damage die or a hit point die for certain things is fine. I mean, if you're not leveling up your character that has a d6 hit die and you're not carrying a weapon that has a d6, as it's damage based, then you could set that die aside. You don't even need it. You're just going to use the ones that you use. Your D20 and your D10 for initiative, and whatever your damage die is for for the weapons that the weapon or weapons that you carry, and that should be pretty much it. So again, it's just something that hit me right away as I was going through it, and just it's a pitch that you could certainly unify dice rolling um, to eliminate those special rules, because now all of a sudden it becomes a special rule and it's unnecessary, and to have a more logical approach to character class abilities. Having three character classes that essentially have access to thieves' abilities is a detriment, I think, to people that are playing thief characters, because they already have the D4 hit die on top of that as well. It's like, well, why would I ever play a thief character? I'd rather play a monk, which also has a D4, but a monk is going to have um, all of those other, added attack abilities that the thief doesn't have. So that's why I'm looking at it and saying to myself, this is just glaring oddities to the game design that has not seemed to fix some of the OD&D problems. And they were in fact problems. I see that it's a balancing issue between playing a thief character and playing a monk character, or playing a ranger. If I want to have certain thieves abilities, then the thief is not the best of the three choices, and that makes no sense to me. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there, and I will continue especially once I get the book. I will continue going over and covering Swords and Wizardry Complete. Hopefully we get past the oddities and we get into some original content. I'm looking to see what stands out and what is unique about Swords and Wizardry Complete as it's compared to other OSR games I already have. So I thank you all for joining, and let me know what you think. I mean, I'm sure that I will get some people coming out here and saying, what, you're questioning Matt Finch? It's just I know that these are design choices, but I think in a few of those cases it just doesn't make sense to me. Oh, excuse me. So it is what it is. I will stand by my opinion, and and I accept anyone coming in to say, hey, this is the reason why. I'd love to hear the reasoning why, the rationale why. If the rationale, can be made clearly, to me, then maybe I'll say, oh, okay, I understand it now. But if the rationale is just, well, we're trying to stay true to OD&D, I think that in 2023 is kind of holding on to some dice mechanics that just don't make sense, just for the purpose of holding on to them. I don't see the rationale behind that. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that, and you all have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks for stopping in. If you hadn't subscribed, please consider subscribing and hit the alert button so you'll see when these videos keep on coming up. I normally don't post too much over the weekend, so but this one here just made me say I want to do this right now while it's fresh in my head. And I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen or at a convention sometime soon. You'll have a great rest of your weekend, and take care.